Hello everyone, it is Briximus Prime back for another Transformers action figures review, and today I'm going to be reviewing my part 1 of the Transformers Legacy, the Wreck and Rule Collections Bulkhead, Twintwist, and Springer. So anyway, without further ado, let's just get right on into these figures by starting with the packaging. And now taking a look at the beautiful box art here on the figures here. I love how Twintwists came out with him jumping in the air, and you can see a little bit of whirl there in the back. Anyway, here is the Bulkhead figure, the repainted one. There's that guy, and then there's the comic book Springer. Artwork looks pretty good. All of the boxes feature the Wreck and Rule Collection logo with Legacy right there on the side. They all feature this with some product shots on the back. So anyway, that's it for the packaging. And then all of the Wreck and Rule Collection figures all come with a little piece of cardboard that help put together the hammer right here, which I am going to hold off on taking a close look at this till later. So I'm just going to set it down right over here for now. And here is taking a look at all of the accessories included with these guys. I'm not going to go over the bulkheads too much, but basically it comes with the exact same shield that bulkhead came with, just it's covered in this camo. And then it does come with the exact same wrecking ball, though I think the silver on this is slightly different. And then on the Gatling gun, instead of it being made out of that clear blue, it's now out of transparent, smoky black plastic, kind of similar to what was with G-Axis's Energon weapon. And then, going over Springer's here, Springer does come with all the same accessories that original Siege one came with, only they're just colored differently. Comes with the same pet of swords, just in a darker gray. He comes with the exact same blaster, only it's done in a light gray color instead of that bluish gray. And they do combine together into a bigger gun. And then he comes with this little spinning adapter piece for his helicopter mode that you use the swords for. And then Twintwist does come with this pair of guns. This is the same pair of guns that original Titans Return one came with, and they can clip and combine together into a bigger 4-barreled gun. So that's really it for the accessories. By the way, I almost forgot to mention this accessory that the Bulkhead comes with. This hammer does not actually belong to the Bulkhead. This is meant to be a more cartoon-accurate Transformers Prime hammer for breakdown from that one reissued figure. So Hasbro expects you to buy 2 entirely separate figures just so you can have an accurate breakdown. Thanks a lot, Hasbro. I'm not going to go over the Bulkhead too much because all the accessories and this figure itself I have technically reviewed before on the channel, which is why I'm doubling it here in this multi-review with some of the other figures instead of giving it its own dedicated video, because again, I have quite literally reviewed this figure already. So if you're interested in the full depth review, you can go and check that out, link in the description, or a little card over here in the corner. As for the weapon storage on Springer, basically you get these little notches here on the back, and you just plug the swords in back here. And obviously, it's pretty obvious that for the rest of the weapon storage, the 5mm ports are where you plug in everything. So I'm not really going to go too in-depth, but I do want to mention about it because I have not reviewed this mold before. But there you go. That's all the accessories stored in on Springer here. And then the Twintwist figure, the gun doesn't really have a place to go on the back or anything. You just have to kind of... Oh, gosh, dropped that accessory. Well, I gotta go get the gun. I got the gun. Alrighty. Upon further inspection, I found out that you can connect the guns right here onto his shoulders, and that can make for a pretty good-looking attack right there, I guess. Now, we'll get to comparisons later, but I did want to go over the Bulkhead first, because again, I have basically gone over this figure before, so I just wanted to go over some of the differences between this and the other one. But instead of the black here, the Bulkhead, instead of the silver, has nice black bits all over him. Basically, and then the green is a bit more of a muted, more olive green. Basically, all of his bright, vibrant colors that were on the original figure are now more muted for kind of a more, I guess, more stealthy kind of color scheme here. And this paint scheme does a great job at making this figure seem a lot better at being its own design than trying to live off of some other design that already exists. So honestly, I actually prefer this Bulkhead over that original one. And now taking a look at the Springer here. The Springer here looks pretty good. I like the overall paint scheme. It is really accurate to that original comic book coloring for the Springer figure. I am glad that they didn't make him completely just plain green and gray with the bit of yellow, because they did add a bit more bits of gray and bits of green in the gray, and it does allow for a lot more color separation between the figure, breaking up all that gray and green, making it look a little more balanced, with even some different shades of green combined with the lighter lime green. But I still prefer that original cartoon color scheme over the comic book one. But one thing I cannot deny is the feel of the figure. And again, even though this color scheme is based on the one for the comic books, the molding on the head and everything looks pretty accurate to the original cartoon model of Springer. I like how the head turned out. I've never really been a big fan of green on green, but because of the 3 different shades of green they use here on Springer for his face and his head crest and then the rest of the head, it does make the head look a little bit more dynamic. And again, I love all the mechanical detailing and the sculpt work going all throughout the figure. And again, I love that Wrecker logo, nice metallic, shiny right there on the chest. And again, I love the coloring and everything. Mechanical detail and sculpt work is phenomenal because it is from the Siege line. So they do provide a great Voyager class figure, triple changer with some great mechanical detailing, because with some good engineering, I mean, they did a good job at keeping the back and everything all put together, because let's face it, some triple changers are kind of hard and not easy for Hasbro to do nowadays. They usually make them leader class figures at a Voyager size. So I appreciate that even though they re-released this Springer, they didn't make it a leader class price point. Briefly going over his articulation, the head has a limited ball joint that can only swivel from left to right. Shoulders can rotate a full 360, and then the shoulders can move out that far, and then if this shoulder pad can shift up and down, which allows for some other arm movement. He does have a limited bicep swivel, not over 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. Springer does have a wrist swivel, waist swivel. He has dropping down hips due to transformation, but you can utilize those if you wish. He does already have a pretty good kick. He can kick back that far. His legs can move outward that far. He does have a thigh swivel. Bend at the knee, which bends way over 90 degrees. And then his ankles can move up and down, and he gets a really wide ankle pivot. Taking a look at Twintwist's head sculpt here, he is a Titan Master head sculpt from the Titan's Return, so it can be removed, but we'll go over that in a second. Also, the molding and sculpting work still looks really good. I love the paint work and everything that went through, especially this yellow and red that really stands out. And again, molding and sculpting looks pretty good, almost on par with Siege and everything, with all the panel lining and everything. And the plastic feels really good, doesn't feel like it's going to break. And again, I like how these knees with the yellow and red really pop. And the color scheme actually looks really good, though I still prefer that original Titan's Return color scheme, and I'll get to why in a second here. And then he does have a little bit of kibble with these treads just kind of hanging on the back and with these drills and everything right there, and I would have liked a better way for them to compress this in, but again, Titan's Return figure could have used a little bit better engineering, and this is just kind of how it was back in the day. Going over the articulation, the head is on that little Titan's Return ball joint, so it can't really hold too many poses, but it can move quite a bit. Shoulders can rotate a full 360. They can shift up and down. They can move outward that far, pretty far. He does have a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows that bend way over 90 degrees, and then no wrist swivel. He does have a waist swivel, and just letting you know, this does tend to slide off of its mushroom peg, so be sure to always snap that back in when you can. Hips can move forward pretty far. They can move back pretty far. He does have a lower thigh swivel, bend at the knee, which bends 90 degrees, and then his ankles move slightly up and down due to transformation, but no ankle pivot, because again, this is an older figure before ankle pivot became such a gold standard. And getting into size comparisons, again, if you want to have my full-on opinion about this mold, go and check out the review I did on this Bulkhead, so you can kind of get a better idea. But again, this is basically the exact same figure, so anyway, that's it for that. See, so my main issue with these two Springer figures is that even though this one is my preferred color scheme for Springer, this one has a much better feel to it, and so I'm having a hard time deciding which one I want more than the other. And then again, I don't have one of those original Titan's Return one, but I do have an original G1 Twintwist in the toy colors, not the Diaclone colors, but yeah, I actually did grow up on one of the G1 toys back in the day, and that was this one. So anyway, that is it for the comparisons, at least for these guys. And then finally, for size comparisons, here is all three of these guys with the last Transformers Legacy figure I reviewed, the Transformers Legacy G-Axis. So anyway, check out that video if you missed out on it, and let's just move on to the transformation. First of all, we'll start by taking a look at Bulkhead, and obviously, as I mentioned before, this doesn't belong to him. But overall, again, I think the vehicle mode with the color scheme looks a lot better. Again, I did kind of go over this vehicle mode in that other previous review, but I did want to highlight how much I do prefer this color scheme. It looks a lot better on this vehicle mode compared to the previous version. And also another thing I wanted to mention is now these two black panels here don't look out of place because now this black panel that covers where the head was now blends in with the rest of the camo as well as this one right here. So these ones kind of stuck out in the open where these kind of blend in with the rest of the colors. And hey, while we're at it, here's the comparisons between the two Bulkheads. Again, I do prefer this figure over this one, but that doesn't mean this one's a bad toy. I just, personal preference, prefer how this one looks because of just how drastic a design it is from the original Transformers Prime design. I feel like the lack of yellow does look a little more apparent in vehicle mode, but that still doesn't mean this doesn't look bad. It's still a nice looking futuristic car. The blue windscreen looks pretty good, and the Wrecker logo is always a nice touch. And again, the green and gray looks really good, and it's a nice bit of color separation. Just wish there was more yellow splashed in there. And all the mechanical detailing is very nice. Yeah, not really much to really say about the car mode that, you know, there's not really anything too glamorous about it. Again, I do prefer the colors on this one more. I do kind of prefer the more clean look of this one. But still, I still prefer the more cartoon look over this version. And yeah, there's not really much else to say. And here is taking a look at both of the Springer's helicopter modes. I didn't really want to go over the helicopter mode too much because it is the same thing, but also because my original Springer, one of the swords broke in half, and so I don't have the other propeller. But overall, it's just the exact same detailing as the other car mode, only it's less put together, and also that it's just a little bit longer. But anyway, that is really it for the helicopter mode. And then finally taking a brief look at the Twintwist figure. He looks pretty good in his vehicle mode. I like the drills, though they don't twist. 0 out of 10. But he does have the nice opening cockpit here with his little headmaster pilot. And it's actually cool how there actually is a headmaster pilot and a driver's seat in this, considering that Diaclone was originally a toy line of transforming robots with a mini pilot minifigure inside of them. So it's cool how they actually integrated the headmaster gimmick into that whole Diaclone gimmick. So it's just kind of cool how they did that. Treads look pretty cool, and it does roll pretty well, I'd say. And then if you guys wanted to have the guns here, you just kind of plug those in on the sides, and that kind of gives it a little bit more bulk to it and does kind of make it look a little bit better. But it is a great looking vehicle mode, and I do have a lot of fun with this thing. Transform. Okay, this guy's gimmick is kaput, but basically here is the Twintwist compared to the original G1 Twintwist. And then finally, here is everyone compared next to G-Axis's jet modes. You can kind of get a better idea of just how big that jet mode is. Anyway, again, be sure to check out that review if you missed out on it. Yeah, that is basically it for my review on the Transformers Legacy Wreck and Rule Collections, Springer, Bulkhead, and Twintwist. Overall, the Bulkhead is not too fascinating, but I do prefer it over the original one. The color scheme looks really nice. The one with Springer, even though the figure is really good, and I love the feel and the engineering a lot better than the original, I still prefer the original cartoon color scheme, so I'll determine later which one I want to keep over the other one, or which one I want displayed and which one stored. And then, as for the Twintwist, he's alright. I still would have preferred for the color scheme, because the color scheme would have made up for the lack of nice engineering, but because it's a But because it's a figure that is based from an old Titans Return toy line, the engineering is pretty lacking. But I do love the integration of the Headmaster gimmick into the whole Diaclone theme. I thought that was really well thought out by Hasbro. Or it was just a happy coincidence. But anyway, giving all the figures an individual rating, for the Bulkhead, I give him a solid 7 out of 10. Can't remember what I gave to the other Bulkhead, but if it's higher or lower, 7 out of 10 for this Bulkhead. As for the Springer, I give him also a solid 7 out of 10, and for the Twintwist, I give him a solid 5 out of 10. Maybe a little more closer to a 6, but I'm not too surprised by him, but I'm not mad that I own him, if that's clear. But I'm not mad that I bought him, but he's not the best figure in this whole wave. But anyway, that is basically it for this review. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to give me a like on the video. Be sure to comment down below what you guys think. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more toys and action figure reviews. And I'll see you guys in the next part, talk about more about the hammer and all that stuff.